Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Unfucking Your CX. I'm your host, Zach Hamilton. You all know that. What you are more intrigued about is who's in the hot seat and what topic are they going to unfuck today. And so I am really excited about today's conversation. Wayne and I have been really kind of chatting back and forth on LinkedIn. We are both passionate about operational execution. We're both passionate about experience as a profit lever. And we also had a pretty robust conversation about the future of AI and customer experience. So, Wayne, welcome to the hot seat, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, we had a great conversation. And this is kind of 15 years in the making for me as an ops guy who has majored in the rollout of AI. So really looking forward to digging into some topics today and giving some great advice, hopefully to the wider audience.
Yeah, likewise. Well, before we get started in the conversation, I always like, for you, for the person in the hot seat to set the tone. Where does this type of conversation happen for you? Is it in the office? Is that your favorite pub? Is it over a beer? Like, where do you think this conversation is going to take place?
Uh, do you know what? 2 or 3 years ago, it probably would have been in an office. Do you know now? Anywhere. Like as soon as people realize that I'm part of, or I'm an AI guy, people, even my parents, everybody wants to have the conversation anywhere. It could be in the living room on Thanksgiving. Wayne, what do you think? What's AI doing? It's everyone has an opinion now. And so, the conversation happens everywhere. That's I've been in this place, for 15 years or so. And so that's a really big shift over the last 18, 24 months is
Yeah.
where these conversations happen.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that because everyone really believes that AI is like this brand new like interface, right? Because of the adoption of ChatGPT primarily or Gemini or whatever it's kind of
Hmm.
inside your working operating system. But it's not just a 2-year old interface. And so that's what I'm really excited about for today's chat. And when you, like you said, you've been around AI now, you've been an operator at heart for over 15 years. You work with some of the best brands globally. What's that one topic that is just making you cringe that you really want to set straight today?
Um, you could have at least sworn. So the thing that's really fucking me off right now, in the world of AI and automation, tech, and experience is the tech first kind of demolition of the contact center from uh, individuals who are very tech orientated and do not have the operational experience, therefore knowing that the contact center is it's almost like a living, breathing organism that is incredibly complex. It's, and has so many nuances, and there's people involved and process, and everything's changing all the time, and all of these channels, and this complexity that everybody underestimates unless you've been an operator, and and that's the thing that really annoys me that people tech people think that the contact center is going to be demolished within years, when the reality is, I think it's going to be around for a long time, decades even.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting topic because, like you, I've run a contact center as well, right? Of over 100, agents, full-time agents, and then we had, of course, part-time agents and whatnot, especially as we ramped up through the holiday season. And it just takes me back to who was the company just this last year? Was it Intuit, where they essentially let 80% of their staff go like overnight because of AI, and really it was just automation. And what they learned very, very quickly was, oh, we were not ready for this as an organization. And so they had to completely reverse all the different policies. And so I think that one piece, everyone believes tech is just so easy. Why is why is it why is change management and human behavior always just overlooked?
It's a great question, actually, and adoption, right? So, the things I could say a couple of things, right? But one of them is you can use the greatest technology in the world, but if people don't use it, you can deploy it, but if people don't use it, what's the point, right? So that's number one, right? Just because you have tech doesn't, it's not useful until it's used, okay? And if you're designing that technology, if you're not designing with your users in mind, why would they want to use it, right? People are creatures of habit. Um, the only time they generally want to change the thing that they do is when the thing that we are offering as an alternative is better than their habit. And I've seen this, over the decades now. My first kind of real insight to this was when I was making back in 2009 ish, getting people to utilize online chat and digital messaging versus calling in. It's right. Okay, so everyone, even got the smartphone. This is how you spoke to brands, right? You picked up the phone. So to go from this to this was very alien for a lot of people, and it was a long time, it was years and years. But in the end, you can nudge people to do the things. But we had adoption plans, and we had to use we had to almost manipulate people into trying something that was not habitual, and then really concentrate on the experience and ensure that that experience that we were making them live was as good, if not better, than what they were used to. And that is how you create channel shift and adoption. But that's overlooked massively. Like, we got down really into the weeds about, the amount of time that things took, the number of, say, for example, the number of questions on a pre-survey that you would ask. And we would literally get into the data that said, look, if we ask more than three questions, we have a 30% drop off. Okay,
Yeah.
right. So we need to try and, we really got into the data of this, because adoption was key. AI should be the same. AI should be treated the same. And yet we don't get into the weeds enough on this. Even the speed at which an AI talks, there should be loads of research on that. What is the optimum speed for an AI, voice AI, for example, to talk to a person in an IVR? Because I can tell you what, I want it to be 1.5 times what it is right now because I hate how slow they are. Hey, thank you for joining us. It's so great. It's like, no, like just hurry up. But it's little things like that which are, really annoy me. And if you were to speak to enough customers and think about what it is that they want in automated services, I think we'd be delivering very different things. And I think that would naturally see much bigger and better adoption, but we
Yeah.
don't.
Well, I think you're spot on there, right? Because right now we're optimizing the contact center as a cost center because that's as
Hmm.
leaders, we've allowed it to become a cost center. And so it's being treated as a cost center by your CFO. That's not the CFO's fault. That's our fault, right?
Hmm.
For us not being able to leverage the insights and be able to go influence the organization. But I think the other piece to your point is right now there's so many shitty designed IVR systems where I don't know about you, but I feel like at least every other time I have to call in, I'm just like, give me a fucking human. And I'm like screaming into it of like, just give me the fucking operator by now. And so when you think about that, that shift where people are like, your systems are, I started on self-serve, but because your automation, not AI, your automation is so shitty because you haven't updated your FAQs probably since COVID, you're getting such shitty responses. So now they're just screaming for that human connection. And I don't even think it's human connection. They just want to get their shit solved.
And unfortunately, both bad experience and good experiences live long in the memory. So, when you think about having a bad experience with brand A, it doesn't take you long to contact brand B and be like, "Oh, God, I'm in the same thing here, right? Agent, agent, agent." Unfortunately, likewise, when you get a good experience, you then expect that good experience to be everywhere else. Same thing's happening with bad experiences, and there are enough of them. You mentioned the word design.
Yeah,
There's two things that I think are the problem right now. Number one, we are we are we're not redesigning experiences for a world of AI, right?
right.
We're basically replicating what happens right now. Okay, so there's a miss there. Um, but design is so critical, right? Everybody has access to the same technology, right? And I know that design and deployment are they're not a given. Good design and good deployment are not a given. How do I know that? Because I see the same technology deployed in two different organizations and have a very different experience.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's clearly not the tech because the technology is the same in both places. It's the deployment and then the design. We're so, and I think some of that comes down to purpose. You mentioned before the most AI is being deployed to save money. It is. It's not been deployed to improve the experience. It is being deployed to save money. Well, guess
Yep.
what? When you focus on saving money, you cut corners at every place, including the deployment. Why? Because why would you not? It's like, we'll just go after the top 20 intents and, screw the other 184 that we've still got remaining. And actually those top 20 intents, well, each one of them probably has, 7 or 8 different paths that they could go down. We'll just concentrate on the top two, and then we'll claim a really high containment rate on one particular. We got an 84% containment rate on check my balance. God, if it should actually be 99% to be completely honest, but sounds good. So yeah, it just really annoys me the purpose. When we are purposely trying to save money, we badly design the services as a result, and we create worse experiences. And the thing that really, really irks me is that the brand itself, even if they save money, they end up always costing their consumers, us, time.
Yeah.
And that really, really annoys me. And I'll give you a great example. I was in the Merrill Lynch IVR the other day. I was in that IVR. I was so frustrated. I actually looked to see how long I was in it. 4 minutes 90, right? I was in their IVR for 4 minutes 90. I'm not stupid. I'm trying, all I'm trying to do is unlock my account. They've told me I have to phone in, online, phone in. So you know that I've got a problem. You know my mobile number. You make me go through an IVR. I'm in there for 4 minutes 90, and then you eventually get through to a person, and you're then asking me, please leave a survey, tell me how great your experience is. I'm like, I can't because the agent was very good, but your experience, I,
Yeah.
I hated it. And I will never be their customer again because I hated their experience so much.
Yeah. Well, what I see there is, and this is when there's like this one picture that comes to mind when I hear brands talking about we have an AI strategy. And I don't know why I've gotten this visual. Maybe I've dreamed about it or something. But it's like this huge, just like corporate building. And then like on the outside, there's just this little person who's just gonna like plug in this giant like extension cord, which is AI. And then of course it's just gonna revolutionize the entire brand. Like I feel like that's kind of where we are right now. And so it's a perfect segue to the player tips, right? Because you've successfully have designed AI systems to truly deliver the experiences that derive the outcomes that brands are desiring. So, what's the first player tip that our listeners need to really be thinking about when they're going to implement their AI strategy?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing, right, you've got to do it for the right reasons, right? You really have to be purposeful in your deployment of any technology, I feel, especially with AI. If you truly are customer centric, and we're thinking about this, I'm thinking about this from a contact center perspective, right? If the byproduct of an implementation is cost saving, great. But you got to go in. I think if you go in with the right mentality, which is making things better, most times when you make things better, they likely become quicker. If you become quicker, you're like generally going to be cheaper, right?
Yeah.
But you're going in with the purposefulness. You are thinking about your advisor, you're thinking about your consumer, you're doing it for the right reasons, and the outcome of that will likely to be better. Um, we tend not to do that at the moment. So I think, really be honest, actually. Be honest about why you're doing it. Because I guarantee if you're going in to try and save money, you are going to make the experience worse. And you might be robbing, Peter to pay Paul here. Um, okay, so that's kind of number one. Let's be really honest about what we're doing and why we're doing it, because it will have an impact on things like down the line about, design and the amount of effort you put in on testing what it is that you're doing. The amount of money that you actually spend on the deliverable versus the technology, and all of those things are going to be they're going to be influenced by your true purpose. Um, and you've got to be honest about that because most people aren't.
I think that's bang on. I think you said it, and I don't need to restate it. But if it's only about cost savings, you're only going to shift the cost savings from the human cost to serve to the tech cost to serve, and initially it's gonna look like a large cost savings. But to your point, it's going to have a significant negative impact on customer behavior to where long term it'll have significantly more harmful impact on the P&L. What's the second player tip?
Uh, okay, so in this instance, what I'm going to go with uh, do not underestimate the value of every conversation, every human conversation that you have, right? You mentioned before about, we've kind of gone down this route of everything being a cost center. Um, the contact center, generally is the only place in an organization where we actually speak to the person buying and using our product, right? Yet we've spent the last 20, 30 years looking at those conversations and not extracting value, but seeing them as a cost and a burden. The role of AI in today's world does enable us to gather and turn those conversations into gold. Now, that can be both automated conversations with voice AI, but it also can be the human ones as well. Let's use that to our advantage. Let's stop. Let's not underestimate the value that gaining first-hand feedback, um, competitor analysis, product likes and dislikes, and all of these things. Let's not underestimate the value that that can provide to the wider business. Might be even if it's an incremental cost to the contact center. I'm sure as hell know that marketing spend an absolute fortune on advertising, and competitor analysis and stuff. Like, just reallocate that budget to your contact center, give them an extra 30 seconds, and start really asking your client, how do you find it? What's your favorite feature? But
Yeah,
again, we don't. Let's start mining. Let's start looking at the good in a conversation, not looking at the cost of it. And then let's start seeing how that can change, the business for the better. So that's probably and again, using AI to do that is a much more cost effective and almost a universally now accepted uh, uh, capability that is available in most CCaaS platforms, or is available in platforms that can work very well with CCaaS.
yeah.
So it's edge AI anymore. So start using it and stop seeing contacts as problems and start seeing them as value. That's
Yeah,
number two.
it's so interesting. Right now, I've been analyzing over 100 retail brands, and their trailing 12-month friction. It's now exceeded the cost of customer acquisition costs.
Mhm.
And to your point, all of that revenue leakage, all of those great product ideas, they're living in those conversations that are happening every day. And the number one use case that I'm hearing for contact center, it's so funny. Contact center AI is not just about how to, containment. Then the second one is quality assurance. And I'm like, I get that that's really important. You want like a consistent conversation and you want to enable and upskill your reps, and that's really important. But how about we just mine for some fucking friction? How about we do that, right? What's player tip number three?
You mentioned the word before, design. Okay, I'm going to call context strategy, strategic design, um, build with intent, right? Not intent as in, but really think through, what contacts in what context should be delivered by in what channel using what technology or what type of agent, right? Like really design what is the experience that you want to create and purposely utilize and sprinkle in, different channels, different people, different capabilities, depending on the type of task that they want. And do it at a context level, an intent, a sub-intent, a micro-intent level. If you're going to design it, you may as well design it properly. Don't just take your high-level intents of check my balance, where's my order. It's like, okay, well, there may be different ways, like uh, and utilize information that you know about people to gain incremental context. So, like why my Merrill Lynch example earlier on, clearly one system knew that I was locked out. That was not transmitted to their IVR. You could have made my process amazing. You know, you had the information, you just hadn't linked it together. So design with purpose is the last one, and don't you should spend three times more duration and effort on your design than you need to do in other places, right? And if you can do that, I guarantee number one, your implementation is going to be quicker, um, and it's also going to be significantly better. We don't spend enough time on really getting into the nooks and crannies and the weeds in a design perspective from a design perspective. And AI is not going to help us necessarily do that. It may help speed up the process a little bit, but really that is, good knowledge, good design principles. And so yeah, that's my third tip. Do not
Well,
underestimate the complexity of design.
I think it's the honestly, it's probably your most important tip because if you really
Mhm.
think about the effectiveness of the agent that you are trying to deploy, it's only as good as the design that you are giving it, right? Like you're designing what you want it to do, the experiences, the outcomes. You're giving it the guardrails. You're designing empathy into it. So everything that you design, the agent's just going to act the way that you want it to. So to your point, it's like measure three times, cut once, versus cut seven times, and then we should measure.
Yeah.
Wayne, this has been such a great conversation. I know we could go a little bit longer, but if any of our listeners want to go deeper with you, where can they find you?
Best place probably on LinkedIn. So it's Wayne Butterfield. And I'm the founder of STX. And you can't miss me. I'm usually the first Wayne Butterfield to come up. I'm not the only one, but I'm usually the first. So that's probably the best way. And to be fair, you'll probably see me liking and commenting on your post, Zach. So just go to Zach's post and you might find me.
Right. That's right. And for all of our listeners, we'll add where to find Wayne in the show notes and in the newsletter. Wayne, thanks again. Come back soon, man.
Excellent. Pleasure, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.